this week, what we are focused on is Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits is an incredible book. If you haven't read it, please make sure that at a minimum, you listen to the YouTube that I posted in the chat there. That's a really good interview with the author James Clear. And basically it just gives a summary. It's about an hour. But also if you go on YouTube, there's audio recordings of the book or get the old fashioned paper copy. I read it a couple years ago, but it's one of those books that you have to read probably every 2 years because it has just some really, really tangible items about your habits and how really truly we overcomplicate what are routines and the importance of using habits to transform our life into the life that we want. So let me just share my screen really, really quick. And I hope it pops up for you guys. All right, cool. There we go. Okay. So Atomic Habits. So we're going to talk a little bit about today about the principles of Atomic Habits and why it's so important. As you look at transforming what your existing life was on ships to shore, you're taking these old traditional habits that you had as a crew member and you're having to redefine them on land. So James Clear, one of the things that I love what he says in the book, he has so many great quotes and you can look and find them everywhere. But one of the things that he says is that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. So it's the small intentional habits that we cultivate that can really shape our journey towards success. And like many of you have experienced in the unique lifestyle that exists on board a ship, you have structure, you have discipline, you have teamwork, and then all of a sudden you're moving into this new world of virtual employment or life on land. And it's really important that you start defining what your habits are that worked for you while you were on board a ship and how you adapt these and how you thrive in your new environment. So we're going to look at the principles of his book so that we can help share how we have transitioned and how this can become foundational for you for future success. One of the really, really big principles that James talks about is a lot of times we end up in life with these, major New Year's resolutions or these big, huge goals that when we put them out there big and giant, they're just not achievable. The way we make lasting change is by making small incremental changes that grow and compound over time. And one of the statistics that he gives is that you're 37 times more likely to keep a habit if you start doing it with small little changes. So I'm going to give you some examples of that. So as you think about your remote employment opportunities, as you think about starting your own business, as you look at expanding your virtual work skills, my goal is really that we will talk about practical strategies that will help you succeed in these areas. So we're going to talk about the 4 laws of behavior change, building habits that are specifically tailored to you. And then hopefully by the end of the session, you guys can ask some questions and have some tools in your toolbox to make deliberate and permanent change. So please feel free, if you have questions, raise your hand. If you like something that I said, use the little smiley face that is at the bottom of your screen. You'll see, I'll send you guys some love there. And then if you want to raise your hand, feel free, raise your hand, and I'll call on you. If there's something that I'm talking about that doesn't make sense, or you want to understand how you can adjust it to what you're doing today, just let me know. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so first thing, here's just a picture of James Clear, and there's a cover of the book. Please go on YouTube. I'm a huge YouTube person versus like podcasts because all the podcasts are on YouTube, everything's there. And for me, it's the easiest thing. And one of the beauties of YouTube is that it learns your pattern and your behavior of what you listen to, and it'll start feeding you new content or feeding you new people to listen to. And one of the interviewers, Ed Milet, who this is the YouTube link that's in the chat, is the interview with Ed and James, is he's a really good interviewer. There's a couple other people out there that are in the similar realm. But you'll see that he had some really dynamic authors, speakers. I just listened to one yesterday that was about brain power, and this gentleman that has essentially like hacked your brain so that you can remember names and you can do all these really cool things. And Ed Milet was the one that interviewed him. So use those people that are out there on YouTube interviewing the top of the top to get the cliff notes on a lot of this writing. So let's dig into your new environment. So as you transition from C to the virtual environment, there's a ton of challenges, but there's also a ton of opportunities. You guys have really, really valuable skills, and now is the time to take those skills and to channel them by adjusting your habits to thrive in a virtual realm. One of the beauties about the structure of working on board a ship is it's so habitual. It's so, while the day-to-day may be different, the guest that you're speaking to or the supervisor that you're speaking to, while those actual contexts may change of what you're talking about, the structure of when you wake up, when you go to work, what you do on a daily basis is something that really becomes addicting, and it becomes a big shock to the system when you get on land, because all of a sudden there's nobody guiding, what time the leadership meeting is every day. It's you are the leader. You're the one guiding your life. And so that's why this content is so important. So one of his quotes that he has in the book that I absolutely love is he says, every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. So this is really powerful. You think about this is not just about setting ambitious goals. It's about establishing systems and habits that support your progress. But one of the points that he makes is that small things stack up over time. And he uses this analogy of 1%. And Ed Milet actually talks about and one. It's really about in life, choosing to do one more. And James's point is that we tend to look for these New Year's resolutions where we say, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds versus saying, I'm going to eat a cup of vegetables a day. So I think because when we put this big lofty goal out there and we don't do the things that are the votes or the teeny tiny micro actions in the person that we want to become, then we lose sight of the bigger goal. And while it's great to say, I want to lose 20 pounds, really, truly, the goal is not the 20 pounds. What person do you want to become? I want to become a person that respects and loves my body, that I feed it food that's good for it. Think about the difference in that being the goal versus writing the 20 pounds on, your mirror. When you are able to connect your emotion and the real true reason for why you want to do something, then the motivation gets more emphasis. And anybody who's parents, if you have children, you can for sure relate to this, is when you can put your goal is, I want to model for my kids what respect looks like in my home. That really changes those micro actions, because the purpose becomes so much bigger, because that's your teeny tiny votes for who you want to become. And it just reinforces your goal as a human being. So the first thing that is really, really important as you look at your transition into your land life is establishing a routine. And we have this little image of this lady getting up, going through her set of things. I'm an incredibly routine-oriented person. But one of the things that he talks about is that he tells a story about a guy that what he did was every single morning he got up and he went to the gym for 5 minutes and then he left. And this was this teeny tiny micro, and people laughed at him and they thought it was silly. But the thing that he was trying to do was establishing the habit of, I go to the gym. I get out of bed, I go to the gym. And the more that he was able to habit stack, I go to the gym and that 5 minutes become 10 minutes. And at that 10 minutes, he would leave because he's looking at establishing the habit. This goes back to New Year's resolution. You go in on January 1st and you go and you do this 2-hour workout and you're all intense, and then you don't do it again. Where he's going, nope, I just need to get my butt out of bed and establish the routine for doing the action to cast the vote for the person that I want to become. And there's a quote that he refers to is that the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. And it's so true. So this guy was looking at essentially habit hacking is that I'm going to get through the hardest thing is getting my butt there to the gym. So one of the crucial aspects that you take is as you're looking at virtual work is what habits do I need to create in my day-to-day life as I'm working from home or as I'm working with someone virtually. Like first and foremost is your workspace, is routine and workspace. So setting up, hey, I get up at this time, I do these things, and my workspace looks like this, so that motivates me. You're being handed a specific set of roles and responsibilities as you go into your new job, but your environment isn't necessarily changing. If you're sitting at your kitchen table, if you're sitting at a place that is maybe your personal place, it's really hard to shift into that work mode and alternately shift out of it. And you guys all know, when you're on a shift, the hours that you spend in your office, you're like, oh my gosh, shift out of this place, because you want to be able to turn off that work. So being able to establish a consistent routine for yourself, writing that routine down, keeping your personal goal in mind and saying, hey, on land, this is what I want my life to look at. Like, I want to be able to exercise. I want to be able to have time with friends. I want to be able to eat in a healthy way. And then being able to document what your routine is going to be to help you stay on track is so important. So make sure that you're waking up on time at the same time each day. So my wake up time is 6 o'clock, depending on the day. Sometimes it's 7. I do my schedule the night before. So let me give you guys an example. My other one is on my bedside. I always do my schedule for the day before. Many of you have seen this. This is my historical ones right here. So I write down my schedule the night before, and that gives me, and a lot of people do it the morning of. There's Brendon Burchard is another really great speaker, and he talks about it's at the first 60 minutes of every single morning, how he structures his day is he does 20 minutes meditation, 20 minutes, some type of physical movement, walking, working out, yoga, whatever that may be. And then 20 minutes of reviewing his schedule. I choose to do it before I go to bed because I'm like waking up in that shock. And a lot of other people talk a lot about the importance of not touching your phone for a minimum of 30 minutes. Some push it to an hour. I try to push it to an hour from the time that you wake up. Just being able to get up and say, hey, this is what my day looks like. I'm going to give the first 30 minutes to myself. I'm going to give the first hour to myself. I would say at least 30 minutes in the morning. And by developing these habits, you start to create this sense of normalcy and really, truly respect for what you want your life to be, how you want to structure it in a way that you're fully in control and you're not waking up with your hair on fire, looking at social media, looking at your emails and going, all right, who's going to dictate how I feel first thing in the morning? You're going to do it by finding quiet time, by reviewing your schedule for that day, by setting your intentions. And part of my routine is that I write down what my goals are. And my goals are not these, hey, get to the bank. That's my to-do. It's going, hey, one of my goals is love. I want to make sure that love is at the center of everything that I do. Love for myself, love for my spouse, love for my family, love for my team members. And so that is one of my goals and one of my intentions that every single morning I make sure I write those words down so that words become reality. So creating that habit, whether you before you go to bed or whether you wake up in the morning, it's really, really important that you start creating that routine for yourself. Next one is avoiding distractions. So in the virtual work environment, distractions are everywhere. In Atomic Habits, Clear says that he really, truly, how you manage distractions is really going to determine your overall success. So one of the methods to minimize your distractions is turning off notifications on your device or using website blockers during specific work hours. So if you block a time of strategic work, say, I'm going to block an hour where I'm going to go over my finances today, is making sure that your phone is on do not disturb, making sure that your inbox is closed on your computer, and you're just heads down. And when your mind gets distracted and you start thinking of something else, write it down on a little piece of paper, put it on the side. But making sure that those blocks of time that you have created in your schedule are really, truly designated for what your goal is. So these are your micro moments. These are your 1% to saying, hey, I want to be financially free and independent. So I'm going to block an hour a week, 2 hours a week. Like Mondays and Fridays are typically my money days. And so I have these designated blocks of time where I sit down and I get no distractions and work on it. So this time blocking is incredibly important. And one of the things that I do on my schedule is that when I put it to do, like maybe let's use finances as one of, I got to pay this bill, or I got to do this thing, or, I will do a little dotted line across my sheet to say, hey, this thing is going to get done in this window of time. And this thing also aligns with my overall goals. So it's a to-do and a goal, but making sure you're setting that time aside. Next one is effective communication. So this is another vital skill to master in the virtual work environment. When you do not have face-to-face interactions. So I typically will work from home. We have an office here in Miami, but I like to, do video calls. I like to do phone calls. I like to send voice messages to people. But without face-to-face interaction, it's really, really important that you're finding alternate ways to connect and collaborate with people. Anywhere from somebody you're working for in your virtual job to a friend. So when you are creating effective communication, not only in your emails, but in your chats, and I think most importantly is you're identifying when something's getting lost, is that you're picking up the phone and you're scheduling time with somebody and you're saying, hey, we need to reconnect on this because we're going back and forth in 4 to 5 emails about something that should have been a simple understanding. So make sure that effective communication is a critical piece in your habits. So think about every single person that you're working with and what communication style works for them. So some people it's written and detailed. For me, it's spoken. I like to do quick to the point calls. I like to send voice messages to people because for me to sit down and write something, it's just not my style. But there's other people that work on our teams that they need it written. And so I have to adapt and I have to say, okay, this is what I can do. And this is where we can meet in the middle. So effective communication is really connecting back to your habits, connecting back to your goals. Okay, and then the next one is the 4 laws of behavior change. So one of the things that he talks about, and he also goes into it in the podcast that I sent the link to, which is really, really interesting, is he talks about a couple of different things. One of them is, and this book, again, you could literally dissect every single chapter into the techniques that he's going to, and because we only have a little bit less than an hour, I want to make sure that we talk through the ones that I find are most important for you. So the 4 laws of behavior change. One of the things that is really, really important is that when you are looking for permanent, sustainable change in your habits, is you're making it as easy as possible that you can for yourself. Because of who we're created as creatures, distractible, inconsistent, all those things. When you want to make a change, you are looking for your purpose behind that change, the lifestyle that you want on land, the life balance that you want, the type of friendships that you want. And then you're creating micro actions, the 1% changes to allow that to happen. So the first rule is make it obvious. So James emphasizes the importance of making desired behaviors visible and easily identifiable. He creates triggers and cues in your environment that make it easier to adopt your new habits. So for example, if you want to incorporate exercise into your virtual work routine, one of the things to avoid skipping that habit is laying out your workout clothes the night before as a visual reminder of the workout. So this goes back to the guy of creating the habit of going to the gym. So getting his butt out of bed, getting his clothes on, not creating any hesitation. So think about it. When you got to go through your drawer and you got to go, oh, you know, I don't look good in this shirt. Oh, this used to fit. Da, da, da. If you did all of that the night before and you put it in a pile next to your bed, so when your feet come out of the bed, you're hitting those shoes, that obviousness of what you need to do stops your brain from not moving forward. Our brain only needs these teeny tiny little resistance points to stop us. And so the more that we can eliminate them, having your, you know, water bottle right there by the door, having your towel on top of the water bottle, having it already in your car when you get into your car. And one of the things that, like, for me is, I know for my workout routine is that I go to a gym that if you have to pre-book the class, and if you miss the class and they fine you, I think it's $20 fine. That is motivation for me. I'm like, heck no, I'm not going to pay that $20 for missing that class. So my butt is flying out of bed with, you know, my hair in all directions, and I'm getting there, you know, skipping into my shoes because I don't want to pay that $20. So making it obvious so that you can prevent whatever those restrictions are from getting you to the places you want to go. So next one is, the second law is making it attractive. So Clear suggests that by making your habits appealing, by associating them with positive feelings or rewards, you can create this situation in your life where it entices you to engage in the behavior. An example would be is if you want to establish a habit of reading, that you're making sure that you have this really beautiful chair and this beautiful blanket and something that brings you joy to encourage you to go and sit in that reading nook in your comfortable chair every evening. Another example, which is way more simple, is that before you go to bed at night, if you want to make sure that you're not on your phone and not on social media, but you're reading a physical book, which it is proven that it helps your brain slow down, it helps your sleep, and versus the stimulation that you're getting from the blue lights from your devices, and we all know that we're guilty of this, is that in the morning when you make your bed or when you leave the house, is that you're taking your book and you're putting it on your pillow. So that when you go in the evening to get into bed, you're going, oh, all right, this is a little nudge for my habit that I want to create. Or another example would be putting your phone charger in another room. So a lot of people won't even allow their phones to come into their bedrooms. And that really, truly is something that is making it attractive. And I'm skipping forward to the next point. But the other thing that I would say is that one of the things that I've worked with a coach on is that you have two ways of being motivated. And so this is something that you should think about what type of motivation works for you. So one is that you reward yourself when you do a habit. So let's say you ate a healthy meal that day, is that then you allow yourself to have a glass of wine with dinner. Where the opposite is true is that you didn't eat a healthy meal, and so you don't allow yourself to have dessert. So it's whether you're like punishing yourself for not doing a habit or rewarding yourself. So think about how you're motivated. Mine is usually reward oriented. And so I go, all right, if I do this behavior, if I have a salad for lunch, then I can have a glass of wine at dinner, something like that. So next one is make it easy. And this goes back to the clothes on the side of the bed to get to the gym, or it goes to the book that's on your pillow. Is that the more that we can reduce friction and obstacles that hinder our habit formation, the more likely we are able to maintain those habits long term. So simplify your desired habits by breaking them down into smaller, more manageable steps. If you want to start a habit of daily meditation, start with meditating for 1 minute a day and gradually increase the duration. If you want to write a book or if you want to write a blog, take 15 minutes a day to do it, and put your pad of paper and your pen on your pillow every single evening. So start making it much more easier for yourself. Instead of having to bite off this massive thing of writing the book, just say, hey, my goal is to long-term write a book so I can change people's lives. But my short term is I'm going to write for 15 minutes a day. And that's something that goes on your to-do list that you go, hey, between 9 and 9:15 tonight, I'm going to write. And it's a simple thing that's easy that you can do that won't create friction. And then the fourth one is, the fourth law is about make it satisfying. So make sure that there are significance in immediate rewards and positive outcomes from your habits. So instead of saying, you know, and I put the image of the lion on this slide because that's, you know, my reward, is that making the habit rewarding in the short term, you reinforce proven when they're studying the psychology of maintaining long-term habits, it's going, hey, celebrate the short term, celebrate the 1 minute of meditation. Don't look at the Jay Shettys of the world that are doing 2 hours of meditation, just going, hey, my goal was 1 minute, I did 1 minute, I'm amazing. And reinforcing that behavior really increases the likelihood of you keeping on doing it. So let's look at the example of writing. So if you want to do writing and you want to do 15 minutes a day, that you're treating yourself with a reward either at the end of the session, that you say, okay, one of my goals is I'm going to do 15 minutes of writing a day. And I really love this bag of Lindt chocolate. So after I do my 15 minutes of writing, I'm going to have a piece of chocolate, or I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm going to, you know, do something that brings me joy. And really, truly, those teeny tiny things start helping you. And he calls it habit stacking, is that going, hey, I have a habit every single day of making coffee when I wake up. So your choice is you know that habit of making coffee every single day already exists in your routine. And typically when you make your coffee, you are making the coffee, scrolling on your phone and looking at your emails, all the stuff the world is telling you to do. But you're going to change it and you're going to remove the scrolling on your phone and you're going to replace it with writing for 15 minutes. And then after you do that, you're going to have your chocolate, you're going to have your croissant, you're going to do something to reward yourself to keep that momentum going. And that's called habit stacking. And James talks about it, a lot of other people talk about it. How effective habit stacking is that you take something existing in your routine and then you just add one little to it because it really, really does make a big difference in maintaining it longer term. Any questions at this point? I want to make sure I breathe because I don't see you guys. Sorry. There we go. Any questions, concerns? No? Okay, good. I want to make sure I check in. Make sure everybody's still live there. All right, cool. So the next point, and this is really our last one, and then we can talk a little bit through the book and you guys can ask some questions, is because I want to make sure that this is not overwhelming and we talk about really practical things that you can do. So I want to leave like our last 10 minutes to talk through that, is that your roadmap here and your goal in all of this is sustainable success. By intentionally designing what your high level goals are for who you want to become as you move from ship to shore, is that really can become this beautiful roadmap for you achieving goals and thriving in what your future looks like. Remember, like I said in the beginning, every action that you take is a vote for the person that you want to become. So you're saying, hey, I want to become a person that has internal calm and peace. And I know one of the things that works for me is meditation. So every time I do that meditation, be it 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, I'm taking a vote for the person that I want to become. I'm not mean to myself. I'm not degrading myself. I'm not punishing myself. I'm just saying this is something that is my overall goal. And this is me putting an investment in myself. And one of the other quotes that he has in the book is that he says, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So as you think about what your high level goals are, you're not failing on your goals, you're failing on your systems. So how do you look at what actually works and not you're setting yourself up for sustainable success by putting teeny tiny micro 1% goals out there so that you can keep these things long term. Don't fall into the addiction of doing this big, massive lose the 20 pounds, but go, hey, have the one salad a day. That's something for sure I can do. Or replace the Starbucks Frappuccino, Mochaccino, 5 million grams of sugar with a smoothie or a juice or a egg. Because those little teeny tiny micro movements will help you get to your long-term vision. And then next is really tracking your progress. One of the methods that he talks about is having a calendar on your wall. And this is, and a couple other people talk about it. Jesse Itzler talks about it. Ed Mylett talks about it. James Clear is talking about in this, is that you keep this big calendar on your wall in your bathroom or in this place that you go through every day, your door going out of your bedroom. All you're doing is whatever your habit is or the thing that you're trying to create. Say it's, I want to walk, let's not go to 10,000 steps immediately, but let's say 2,000 steps a day, 1,000 steps a day, whatever it may be. Is that every day that you hit that goal, you're doing an X on the calendar. And then you get momentum from doing that X every single day. And then you'll see that you can then, your 1,000 steps in a week, you're going to change it to 2,000. And this goes back to this concept of and one. You're looking for a 1% improvement. So you're going from 5 minutes at the gym to 10 minutes at the gym to 20 minutes at the gym. And every day, the thing that you're rewarding and what you're Xing off on the calendar is the fact that you're doing the habit. It's not the quality, it's not the quantity, it's that you are committing to yourself to keep on doing it. And there's a lot of habit tracking apps, or there's things that are out there that you can use on your phone where it'll send you a reminder. You can create tasks in your Google Calendar. But the old-fashioned way is obviously doing it on paper. And that consistency is really the foundation of your successful habits. It's so much better to do something small consistently than to do something big once in a while. So make sure you set achievable targets for yourself and commit to the consistency versus the quantity of it. And then over time, you're going to find that those consistent efforts start stacking on each other, and it starts motivating you to either do more in that specific field or to add something. So if my overall goal is wellness, is being able to stack onto that wellness. Maybe I start with exercise and getting physically active, and then the next one it's meditation, and then the next one it's doing something fun for myself. And then the other thing which is incredibly useful is finding an accountability partner or a community. There's so many platforms that are out there, but motivate and celebrate progress and teeny tiny little victories, because that's going to keep you on track. And then really recognize, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit about this fixed versus growth mentality, is that when we're going through this concept of sustainable success, is you really have to identify who you are in your mindset. There's a great book called Mindset that they talk about, that we're born either as a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. We have the ability to change, but what's really important is that we identify what our mindset is. I'm 100% a growth mindset. So if there's something that I don't know how to do, and like build a website, or, you know, I'm trying to think of some other crazy thing that I've had to figure out. I think building a website is like a simple thing, DNS APIs, blah, 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 that I do everything in my power to figure it out, almost to my dismay, because I don't like to ask for help. But I believe in my heart that a person can learn to do anything. It takes work, it takes discipline. I was that way with accounting and finance. Take work and discipline, but you hustle to try and figure it out. A fixed mindset is somebody who goes, hey, I am what I am, and you know, I'm going to find somebody that knows how to do that because they're better and they're smarter than me. And it's just a way of how you perceive yourself. And one is not right or wrong, it's just who we are. But it's important to say, if you have a fixed mindset, is that true that I can't do that? Is it true that I can never lose those 20 pounds? Is that true? Or can I shift that mentality through these micro habit stacking, these micro actions, so that I'm growing and growing in a consistent way? And then, like I said before, is making sure that you're celebrating your victories. So let's do a couple questions. There's my beautiful screensaver, you guys. I want to kind of connect and see where everybody is and what are your questions. Has anybody read this book before? No? Oh my gosh. Get on it, you guys. Well, first listen. You can listen to that short podcast, so 1 hour. And then I think the actual listen to the book is like 5 or 6 hours. And one of the things that I don't ever put on my agendas, but I just do as part of my habit, it's more like a mind control thing, is that because I'm an overthinker and a worrier, and typically my thinking time is like in the morning when I wake up, my brain starts running with all the things that I have to do through the day, and why didn't I do that, and It's in that time that I'll listen to this type of content. So I just put it in my ear, and I'll be listening to as I'm going through my morning, or as I'm getting ready, I'm blow drying my hair, or I'm putting on my makeup, is I'm listening to this. And that's what you call your net time. So it's any of your leftover time when you're driving, when you're walking to the store, making sure that you're feeding your mind with content that's making you grow and making you think. So utilize your net time to start understanding atomic habits, and then little by little start implementing one, because you're going to see it makes a really, really big difference. What other questions? So everybody's got to read it or listen to it, the first and foremost. And I want to tell you this he gives this great story in the book about the English cycling team, of a coach that took over the team. And it's really remarkable when you listen to the story, because it's the perfect example of the 1% improvement. So the English cycling team had never won a Tour de France in like 100 or some odd years. Like, they were basically the worst of the worst. And so this coach took over this team, and this coach wasn't a really dynamic, crazy person. He used these 1% improvements. So he looked at every single thing that the team was doing. So one of the examples is he took the trailer where they had their bikes, and he painted the inside of the trailer white, because he knew that they would be able to see the dirt and the dust that were on the bikes, so that when they were out on the road, it wouldn't degrade the bikes. One of the other things that he did was he tested like 12 different pillows to see which pillow gave the riders the best night of sleep. So they found the perfect pillow that gave them the best night of sleep, and that was a pillow that they took on the road everywhere that they went. They compared their indoor versus their outdoor riding gear, and they did all these wind tests to see which one was faster in the wind. So they realized that their indoor one was, so they used their indoor one for everything. So he did all these teeny tiny little micro improvements, 1%, 1%, 1% to the team. And their goal was that they would win the Tour de France in 5 years. They did it in 3 years with all these micro movements. And they won it, I think, 5 years in a row after that. So that story is really, really powerful. That the goal was not win the Tour de France. The goal was make tiny micro improvements in every single thing that we do so that we see big change when all of these elements are compounded. So that's a really, really powerful thing that he talks about in the story, and just one example of many. But I want to give you guys an opportunity to speak, because I could speak forever. So give me an update on where you guys are. Any questions, any thoughts on this? Jose says he has no questions. Thank you, Jose. I know some of you guys are multitasking. And anybody from my team can also. You guys are new listeners to this. Jose from Brazil. No questions? Okay, good. I'll give you guys an update on Ship to Shore at least. Right now, we're super, super excited because we signed a contract with Starboard. If you guys don't know Starboard, they are owned by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. And I know it's a huge celebration. So last week they gave us, I think, Carol, keep me honest, 4 positions that we just posted, I think, yesterday on our website. And so those positions are, Carol, do you want to talk to them? Tell us what the positions are. She's our, well, Christian and Carol both. Carol's overseeing our client relationships, and then Christian's overseeing our positions. But they're visual merchandising. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, so we're looking for candidates based close to the ports, either Miami or Barcelona, any of the Italian ports. It's exciting positions. The candidates will have to obviously do regular ship visits, so they need to be on board, taking photos, reviewing, sourcing props, getting all of those on board, in charge of campaigns and displays, liaising with obviously shoreside, regular window displays and updates. So yeah, it's an exciting position, and yeah, we're in search of the perfect candidates at this stage. So you can actually go onto the portal and view the job description.
Yep.
And apply.
Yep.
So yeah, it's out there now. So
so it's, if you guys, obviously, any referrals, if it's something that you're interested or have experience in, take a look at the job description, see what it entails. But essentially, when you think about any of the shops on board, especially when they're bringing brands in, so say that you have Chanel, say that you have Louis Vuitton, say that you have Tiffany and Company, they have standards for how all of their products are displayed. Bulgari, think about the perfume. And so this individual will be going out to ships and auditing that they, in fact, are displaying everything correctly, taking pictures of it, coaching when a ship is not doing it correctly, teaching them how to, and then they go on in the morning, they go off in the evening, and you go back to your house. So you guys will see the different locations for the positions, and then send us anybody who are referrals. Thank you so much, Wilhelmina. She put the link in there. And you guys also make sure that your profile is up to date for anything that you may be qualified for. We are still with one of the major cruise lines. We're at the final phases of this pain in the rear contract. But we are right there. They told me it would be done last Friday. It's not. So I'm having faith, and I'm manifesting this Friday that it's going to be done. So send me all of your good energy, because as soon as we get that, I think we have 3 or 4 positions that are already in the pipeline for that. So we have all the individual departments sitting and waiting. We just need the legal side of it done. So it's super exciting. You guys will see some press releases coming out. But Thank you guys for showing up for yourself and showing up to this webinar. Please listen to some of the information on Atomic Habits. I know for me personally, it's been transformative. I can do this teeny tiny habit stacking growing over time, but I can also do that lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks thing. That's just not sustainable and just is not healthy for us. So as you look at your long-term growth and who you want to become and what you want to do, look at these teeny tiny 1%. Look about the changing of the pillow, the painting in the inside of the bicycle, transportation, the changing of the uniforms. What are these teeny tiny 1% that you can do in your life that make a significant change? And let's even look at something as simple as social media. Is that, you know, maybe you say, I want to be on social media more, I want to interact, I want to get myself out there on LinkedIn or whatever. Pull one quote a day, post something that just tell us something simple that's happening and don't have any judgment. And those little teeny tiny micro actions for the things that you want to achieve will make a massive difference. And just keep on showing up, keep on showing up, keep on showing up. Okay, Christian, anything else to add? You still have the bingo position out there. That's US based.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking
Bingo,
for a career activities manager for bingo. They have to be willing to relocate to Pompano Beach, Florida. So that's been our little bit of a hiccup. What else?
That's our only US based one. All the other ones are, well, the other two are virtual and remote work. The traveling visual merchandiser that Carol just mentioned, and also the digital content specialist role that we have open for Ship to Shore. So that's to join us in the team. Fully 100%. We would start part-time, but it's 100% virtual as well. So we're looking for someone that has those skills and that has lived and worked on board, so that we know exactly what doing. And it's really the essence of what Ship to Shore is. So if you know of anyone that could fit into that role, please do recommend them and let them know that it's open for posting on the website.
Yep, and they don't have to be a professional social media anything. It just has to be somebody that knows ships, knows crew members, passionate about our message, and is a creative person. I think that's the most important thing for us. Okay.
100%.
Cool. Well, thank you guys. Have the most amazing week. Thank you for joining us again, and stay in touch. We'll see you next week. Bye.